only thing that I always tell people, even before the corona, you have to be always aware of the environment that is surrounding you at all levels. And that I will summarize it in one word, PESTEL. P stands for politics. You need to be very aware of the political changes that happen around you, how the politics may change and or may affect your business. E stands for the economy. We all understand we are not living now like the 2008. It was a real estate and property crisis. We live in a full economy crisis. So even if there is a crisis or not, you should be aware of the economy around you, where the investment is going, how the government is treating the economy, where the government is pushing the money. Is it pushing it towards healthcare, education, when they announce on their budget? So you have to be aware of that. Third is the T, which stands for technology. When Corona happened, I'll give a very small example. Everything changed, technology even changed. Amazon hit a 170 billion in market cap. Zoom, a clear example of a company that because of technological changes that happened around it, it became a multi-billion-dollar business. Everyone started using Zoom. So I am not saying that Zoom was aware of the technological changes, but you should be aware what are the technology that is needed at the moment to enhance your existing business. Because we live in an environment that is changing constantly every day. One more that you have to be aware of is legal. And that's a mistake I did when I went into the autonomous drone technology. I invested heavily in space technology, and we created the drone. Was the world's first fully autonomous delivery drone in the world, by the way. We created it and we started the operation in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. But after we created everything, we discovered that this industry is hardly regulated and there are no legal structure to establish a business around drone delivery. So that was a mistake. I should have studied the legal environment before I go into the technology. So the last one is the S, which is the social. How socially stable the environment around you? Is there a social security around you or not? How any change in the social will affect your day-to-day business? You have to be aware of that. Now, as a business owner, you cannot affect these environments. You cannot affect the politics. You cannot affect the economy. You cannot affect or change the politics. You cannot affect the social environment around you. What can you do? You have to do one thing. You have to adapt to the changes that happen. If political changes happen, you have to adapt to it. You have to change your business model to adapt to that. If technological change happened, you also have to adapt. There is something called the internal environment. Things that I can control, things I have full control on them. And they are one, marketing. So your marketing function is something internal you could change. You can utilize it to adapt to any external changes that happen. For example, in the US, in the last few months, we've seen the movement Black Lives Matter, and so many companies, for example, they changed their brand and logo to black. So they wanted to adapt to the changes that happened around them, which is a social change for Black Lives Matter. The second is the HR, or I call it the human capital. I'll give an example. When the corona crisis hit the market, one of the first companies that reacted quickly in terms of HR was Airbnb. And I respected the CEO, how he has done it very fast. He let go of, I think, more than 40% of his team, all at once. I feel sad for the team who left, of course, but the way he did it was very smart. He fired fast. The third is the technology. If you notice that the technology is a shared between the external environment and the internal environment. So you have control internally about it, but you have no control externally. There are many countries that does not allow VoIP, the voice over IP. So if you have a startup or a business or a website that run on VoIP, you have to be careful that the country may not allow you to launch VoIP. And the last one is the operation. And operation was the answer for most of the restaurants now, because the legal changes that happened, look, this is another example. The legal change that happened that all of the counties now ordered restaurants, you cannot operate more than 60% of your space. And if you offer only drink, you can't. You should have a meal and a drink, and people sitting on the table, there is no more bar or gathering. These are the legal changes. So what the restaurant has done, those who don't have meals, they started signing up with other restaurants to deliver the meals, and they started serving meals and and drinks. At the same time, you go, for example, to a Cheesecake Factory, you will see the social distancing, and these are all operational changes in reflection to what happened in the legal environment externally. Successful entrepreneurs, successful startups, successful CEOs are those who, what I call, do a marriage between the external uncontrollable environment and the internal fully controllable environment. If you do this marriage between them and you reflect on these changes and the steps that you take internally, you will be a winning, successful CEO. Don't look at the environment surrounding you, the economy, and say, oh, it's a crisis, what can I do? No. Look at it separately. Look at the legal separate, economy separate, politics, social, and technology. Each different frame. Do not frame them together, you will be lost. And then look at internally, the same. Don't look at your company as one picture. Don't. Look at your HR separate, look at the technology and IT separate, look at operations separately, and then look at marketing separately. After you look at these environments, the internal environment separately, you then put them all in one picture. You will see the future of your business. You will start looking at the whole equation internally completely differently. So that's it for today, for this episode. Thank you.